The Taliban on the charm offensive, portraying themselves as a modernised version of what came before. Despite continued chaotic scenes, leaders declared an amnesty, saying they will respect women's rights, guarantee the security of its people and allow foreign nationals to leave.
We are assuring the safety of all those who have worked with the United States and allied forces.
But thousands of Afghans are still trying to get out as the UK evacuation effort expands. Also on the programme. With 130 days to go till Christmas, we're being urged to get ahead with the shopping, as turkey and toys could be in short supply. And we meet Fizz, the abandoned dog turned super sleuth.
This is the ITV Evening News with Charlene White.
Good evening. 2 days after the Taliban marched into the power vacuum in Kabul and took over, the Afghan capital remains gripped with fear. Despite conciliatory words from Taliban leaders today, thousands of terrified people are still desperate to leave the country. Tonight, the Taliban said everyone is forgiven and that there would be no revenge. This after they declared a general amnesty across the country and urged women to join their government. But at the city's airport, where American forces are now keeping the runways clear, there are still crowds trying to get out. Our senior international correspondent John Irvine reports from Kabul.
Afghans who fear for their lives see the road to Kabul airport as their only path to possible salvation. The Taliban maintain that no one here has anything to fear. Nonetheless, many people are still taking to this road in the vain hope of catching a flight out. Much of the highway is gridlocked and there are numerous Taliban checkpoints. At this one, they're using an armoured car which used to protect Western soldiers from them. As we approached the entrance to the airport, we saw people run past as the Taliban fired warning shots. The gate to the airport may be the last interface between repression and freedom, and the atmosphere here was tense and raw. We filmed surreptitiously from our car, not knowing how the Taliban would react to our presence.
Whipping him.
We negotiated with the Taliban commander here and he agreed we could get out and film. In a city full of rumours, the latest is that undocumented Afghans can fly out of here. It simply isn't true, but that hasn't prevented thousands of them coming to this last checkpoint where the Taliban are chasing them away. They were all warning shots to quell the crowd. The Taliban commander asked could he make an appeal on camera.
All those who are eligible should come forward and we will let them through. People who do not have documents should not come here. They are just creating problems.
Are you in contact with the Americans and the British here?
We have not been in contact, but if they want to be in touch, we are ready. It would help us process those people eligible to leave.
They appear to be sticking to their pledge to let into the airport those Afghans that the Americans, British and others have accredited for safe passage abroad. They are also trying to encourage such people to stay here instead.
We are assuring the safety of all those who have worked with the United States and allied forces, whether as interpreters or any other field that they have worked with them. As for their talents and their skills, we do not want them to leave the country. We want them to serve their own homeland.
The Taliban say they are policing the airport entrance to prevent any repeat of yesterday's disturbing and chaotic scenes inside on the tarmac. We now know that at least one of the American transports took off with a payload far in excess of the maximum recommended. Here's an exchange between the pilot and the control tower.
Okay, how many people do you think are on your jet? 800 people on your jet? Holy cow. I mean, good job getting off the ground.
Today, the situation at the airport entrance was too fraught for the Taliban commander to give us more than 5 minutes there. He thought we'd seen enough.
Excuse me. Thank you.
And asked us to leave the area. As we drove away, the queue heading towards the airport appeared to be getting longer.
John, it does feel as though the Taliban are on a concerted PR campaign, both where you are and abroad.
I think that's right, Charlene. It's something we're actually experiencing firsthand because the Taliban have now taken over our hotel from which I'm broadcasting to you this evening. They're all over this place. Suddenly we find ourselves sitting next to each other in the hotel restaurant, rather awkwardly exchanging pleasantries through translators. It's surreal. I'm conflicted about it. After all, Britain has been at war with the Taliban for 20 years. I hope the Paras and the Royal Marines I embedded with in Helmand can forgive me for fraternising with erstwhile foes, but given the close proximity, we don't have much choice, and my colleagues and I are potentially on quite a sticky wicket here. We're defenceless as we try to do our jobs, but the Taliban have been cordial so far because they are mounting a concerted PR campaign at home and abroad, and the main reason is they want international recognition. Will the softly approach continue, Charlene? Frankly, it's too early to say, but let's hope so for the sake of everybody here in Afghanistan.
Thanks very much, John, and stay safe. The government admitted today that along with several other nations, it was caught on the hop by the speed of the Taliban advance. The Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab said what he called real progress is being made in getting British nationals and Afghan staff out of the country. But there's growing pressure tonight for the UK to step up and offer sanctuary to Afghan refugees. More from our political correspondent, Carl Dinnan.
Clambering aboard an RAF transport with just a few belongings, hundreds more Afghan men, women and children are being flown to the UK tonight after being vetted and searched by teams on the ground.
There's a lot of people who are very desperate to escape and that puts a lot of strain onto the team, especially as some personnel who aren't entitled to come home or are pleading for their lives to try and escape.
So far, the Taliban are allowing people access to the airport.
Around the gates, we are having to have a pragmatic engagement with the local Taliban commanders, and thus far, and recognise, please, that we're only a day and a half into this kind of new situation, they have seemed acquiescent and understanding of what we're trying to achieve.
But recalling the abuses of the last Taliban regime, the UK government is working on a much wider refugee resettlement scheme with a particular aim.
We do want to make sure that we protect as best we can women in particular from the worst fears that we've got of a new Taliban regime. So that will be, I'm sure, part of the consideration.
And there are plenty of women who, despite Taliban assurances, are scared and want to get out. This woman worked for a major aid organisation.
They are going door to door to some civilians to find those who work with government and those who work with NGOs to find them and make a list of them. I'm scared about that.
And there remains a fear that not enough is being done for those who worked with British forces and are most at risk.
We have been asking for quite some time now for the government to take a more generous approach. And now this crisis has really hit the level that it has, then I'd like to see many more of those interpreters and their families and the locally engaged civilians who are at risk being brought back to this country. They stood with us, we now need to stand with them.
But it's a complex job. Security officials have already weeded out a small number who they believe could be a threat to public safety if brought back to the UK. Parliament will be recalled to discuss the crisis tomorrow, and MPs, some of whom have friends in Afghanistan, will want to know more about what the government is planning to do to get them out. Carl Dinnan, ITV News, Westminster.
Today's statements from Taliban leaders may have been intended to win hearts and minds, but it's going to take a lot more than soothing words to convince many people in Afghanistan. Memories of the former Taliban regime's brutality are still raw and give people what they believe is good reason to fear, as Dan Rivers has been hearing.
As the symbols of Taliban rule spread across Kabul, including checkpoints manned by fighters in American-supplied Humvees, which only at the weekend belonged to the Afghan army, a brave handful of women tried to face down their new oppressors, protesting for women's rights, which are so rapidly evaporating. But many women in the city are now too scared to join them. One aid worker showed us the room she hasn't left for 3 days, terrified of being singled out by the Taliban, who are currently patrolling her street.
We are scared in case we are identified. Even my mom and dad told me that I burned all my documents, all my educational and government documents that I have, but I haven't did it yet because I said they're all my achievements.
In West London, Arya Fati has been frantically trying to reach her wider family in Kabul for days, but her calls go unanswered, her messages unread.
The women are at risk, the children are at risk, not only of physical, violence or anything like that. There is radicalization, there is rape threats, there's a plethora of things we're worried about currently.
In Coventry, Fariba Hafisi has been trying to reach her disabled mother, who's stranded in Kabul. She is beside herself with worry.
In a way, it's my fault for leaving her. I just feel really guilty that I'm here in safety. And my mom, who's disabled, she's sick, she's on her own going through all this. She doesn't deserve this.
The speed of this crisis didn't just wrong-foot Western governments. It caught out families, leaving them cut off with no way of knowing when or if they will see each other again. Dan Rivers, ITV News.
In America, President Biden is standing by his decision to take his forces out of Afghanistan in such a short time frame. One prominent Republican, a Donald Trump supporter, called it a diplomatic humiliation. But Mr. Biden said it was a move that had to be made.
I cannot and will not ask our troops to fight on endlessly in another country's civil war, taking casualties, suffering life-shattering injuries, leaving families broken by grief and loss. This is not in our national security interest. It is not what the American people want.
Well, let's talk to our global security editor, Rohit Khatri, who is in Washington tonight. Rohit, what dangers could a Taliban-controlled Afghanistan pose for the rest of the world?
Well, it's worth noting, Charlene, that perhaps the most significant comment in that extraordinary Taliban press conference earlier was their claim, unprovable claim, that the Taliban will not shield foreign terrorists who might launch terrorist attacks abroad. The language was vague, but they said we want to reassure that Afghanistan will not be used against others. Remember how this war began with the allegation that the Taliban had been harboring the al-Qaeda terrorists behind the 9/11 attacks. And in the last few weeks, we've heard warnings from the director of MI5 and others about the possibility of Afghanistan once again becoming a safe haven for al-Qaeda. If you look at the last night's speech from Joe Biden, he said that he had for a while been trying to focus the US operation in Afghanistan on counter-terrorism measures. But one question which arises from the chaos of the last few weeks is, if American intelligence couldn't spot the fall of Kabul a few days away, a few miles up the road, will they really be able to see emerging terrorist threats if they come from Afghanistan?
Rohit, thank you. Also to come in the ITV Evening News. The dog rehomed twice, solving crimes using her remarkable sense of smell.
A warning from turkey farmers about what we can expect this Christmas.
Those stories and more after the break.
get future ready. Just got these new sick kicks and that. So get steady. Look that gate. So much knowledge in this place. Check his look and his book. It shows he's on the case.
Look who's back. My squad and me. New skills on across my team.
And I'm gonna edge this test. Stop my eyes and cross my teeth. Look who's back. Look who's back. Look who's back to school. Look who's back. Look who's back. Look who's back to school. Yeah.
Boost your blonde with Elvive Colour Protect Purple Shampoo. Caring purple formulas help neutralise yellow tones from the first wash. And now complete your routine with the new Purple Reviving Oil. An instant boost of care and shine for brassy blonde lengths. Colour Protect Purple by L'Oréal Paris. You're worth it.
Can you buy a car that's passed a 300-point inspection, been carefully reconditioned, and comes with a 7-day money-back guarantee? Kazoo, yeah you can.
Whatever thing your kid is into, they could win a dream version of it with Robinson's Fruit Chew. Pick up a pack for their chance to win.
Ever wondered how it would feel to win People's Postcode Lottery? Well, now's your chance. In our September draw, £7.3 million will be shared by players in one lucky postcode, our biggest ever Postcode Millions prize. And with a prize pot of £18.8 million, there's more cash prizes to be won when you sign up before midnight on the 19th of August. Why let your neighbours have all the fun? Join in for a daily chance to win.
With HelloFresh meal kits, you get tried and tested recipes, step-by-step instructions, and fresh quality ingredients, perfectly pre-portioned for you and delivered to your door. Everything you need to cook delicious dinners. Order now at hellofresh.co.uk. Dinner solved.
We have launched an awesome new product. Say hello to the Megabit. Same amazing flavour. And now we've reduced the plastic packaging by 40%, but you still get the same amount of cheese.
Pilgrim's Choice, a world full of flavour and less plastic.
With simple, skin-loving ingredients, it's easy to be kind to your skin every day. And we believe it's just as easy to be kind to others every day too. Because with simple acts of kindness, you can make the world around you feel as good as your skin. Help spread 1 million acts of kindness with Simple.
Daily coffee costing a fortune. Our white coffee is just 99p. Great coffee, great price.
Welcome back. There are a mere 130 days till Christmas, but there's a warning tonight that you may not find what you want in the shops by then. From turkeys to toys, issues with supplies and prices mean retailers fear we'll need a Christmas miracle to have enough to go round come December. Our consumer editor Chris Troy investigates.
Forget sleigh bells, Christmas supplies usually arrive like this, but now as firms restart after COVID, demand for shipping containers is rising, pushing up costs.
Christmas will be more costly this year, there is no doubt about that. It's going to affect food, it's going to get clothing, it's going to affect toys, everything you can mention. Christmas trees.
New data released to ITV News shows 62% of retailers and wholesalers expect their prices to rise in the run-up to Christmas. 59% of manufacturers expect to increase prices. Costs for bringing a container of Christmas goods from China are up 700% since last year. And there's also a shortage of agricultural workers, bringing turkey production down an estimated 20%.
70% of our members were having trouble recruiting the right people. So not only an increase in wages, but an increase in shipping costs are putting quite a lot of pressure on our members.
Every year, around 9 million turkeys are reared in the UK for Christmas, but farmers
are warning that a staff shortage means that will be significantly reduced, affecting what we see in the shops.
Many EU seasonal workers are now unavailable.
This Christmas there will not be the amount of British turkeys in the retailers because they're physically not going to be there, because companies, the turkey farmers, have made the decision they're not going to be able to pluck them and process them.
And for toys, another supply pressure, the global shortage of computer chips caused by COVID disruption.
Certainly some of the big items at Christmas over the last few years have been things like interactive pets, so they'll have microchips that might respond to your voice or touch or things like that. Some of those kind of big hitting Christmas toys that kids are after might have some supply issues.
At our ports today, festive goods already arriving. Millions are looking forward to it, but reduced choice and increased prices are on nobody's Christmas wish list. Chris Choi, ITV News.
There were signs in today's employment figures of the economy trying to get going again post-pandemic, including a big surge in job vacancies. Nearly 1 million vacancies were recorded in the 3 months to July, the highest since 2001. The 3 months to June saw a slight but unexpected dip in unemployment, down from 4.8% to 4.7%, while the annual growth in average pay soared to 7.4%. Well, our economics editor Joel Hills joins us now. Joel, what do you make of these numbers?
Well, wherever you look, all the arrows are pointing in the right direction. Redundancies are low, pay is rising, unemployment is falling, perhaps having peaked at a level no one would have dared to have predicted a year ago. And you've got a record number of vacancies in the economy. It is good news. It suggests that as the Delta variant spread during the summer, it didn't hamper the recovery. It will be encouraging news for the 1 million or so people who remain on some form of furlough support. They will feel rightly they have a fighting chance of finding work, even if they can't return to their jobs when the scheme ends next month. But although there is an abundance of vacancies, many companies, as you heard Chris saying, just are struggling to attract staff, whether it's turkey farmers or Tesco. It's offering £1,000 golden hellos to lorry drivers. There are real problems here. It is an employees market, which may sound wonderful, but the concern is that persistent labour shortages will drive up wages and inflation and may force the Bank of England to rise interest rates sooner than it would do otherwise.
All right, Joel, thank you. In other news, a further 170 people have died after contracting coronavirus in the UK, the highest number of deaths reported in a day since March. But the figure is still well below the levels seen during the second wave at the start of the year. Meanwhile, the UK medicines regulator has approved the use of the Moderna jab for children aged 12 to 17, saying it's safe and effective in this age group. All 16 and 17-year-olds in the UK are to be offered a COVID jab by the 23rd of August. Finally, when it comes to catching criminals, Fizz is a dog very much in demand these days. Since being rehomed twice for being a difficult dog, she's found a new life, helping solve dozens of cases by sniffing out vital clues to trap arsonists. Now, as Martha Fairley reports, she's got the branches of 2 emergency services after her impeccable talents.
Fizz the Sprocker Spaniel is no pushover when it comes to solving crimes. As soon as her boots and harness are on, she knows her job is to sniff out evidence that could take crime scene investigators hours or days to locate. Seeing her in action, it's hard to believe she was once labelled a difficult dog who'd been rehomed twice before joining Essex Emergency Services. With her highly tuned sense of smell, she can detect a single drop of 30 different types of fuel used by arsonists.
So there's a little hole in the brick and there's one drip, size of a pinhead in there.
So that was her indicating when she had a nose
so that was where she,
up against it?
Yeah. Come on in this way.
4-year-old Sprocker Fizz is more than just man's best friend. Fully trained and licensed as a fire investigation dog last year, she began work on a trial basis in July 2020. Since then, she's had 40 to 50 jobs resulting in significant fines. Fizz's sniffing skill set means she's in demand for both police and fire investigations. Does she have any idea how important she is?
No, to her, she's just playing a game. She's got her ball. She's treated just as a pet, and the search side is just a game. She won't come near me with that now because she knows Dad will take the toy off her. So, but no, to her, it's just a game.
And Super Sniffer Fizz has one more special skill. After a stressful day at work, she helps the rest of the team relax as well. Martha Fairley, ITV News, Colchester.
Oh, well done, Fizz. Right, that's all from us for now. Tom Bradby will have your news at 10. But for me and all of the team, do enjoy your evening. Bye-bye.